From chatbots to robots, from the real world to the virtual world and somewhere in between. Technology is impacting all our lives. Digital assistants like Amazon's Alexa and Google Home are hoping to make our lives easier, and now AI technology is making the interaction even more lifelike by adding personality. Meet Ollie.
You can have 45 minutes and still be on time for your meeting at 9.
Ollie actually has personality, and also it can learn consumers' behavior, which is currently there is no one to do in the market. That's the unique part. So which means you don't need to give the same command every day to Ollie. Ollie can, based on the learning of you, can proactively do something for you. I think there are two layers. The first is you can, through Ollie, to have a better understanding about each customer's personality, customers' moods, because through the speech and also the face, Ollie can detect the owner's mood. So it is very important for the marketers. They can get this technology and push the relevant information, the advertisement to the consumer. At the same time, when we talk about social media, we say, oh, every brand needs a personality online, all those things. But think about one day, there is a robot, Ollie. It has the personality of NBC. So Ollie has the branded personality.
I think voice in the context of home or how we interact with content is going to be really interesting. The thing that we really want as agencies is them to open the platform to allow us to go in and develop on it and do things with brands that are very unique to the brand. Like, we've spent all of our time thinking about the visual brand. What's it look like? What's it feel like? I think now the audio brand, or what we call the oral brand, is going to be something for us to lean in pretty heavily on. I think that with the idea of voice and VR together, it's going to be a whole different type of interaction that, you know, for a brand, if I was a luxury brand and I had a beautiful product to show off, it's got to be an exciting platform for them to work on.
But AI's biggest contribution to marketing could be in helping humans, not replacing them, particularly when it comes to data. Not so much artificial intelligence, but augmented intelligence.
When you think about augmented intelligence, you have to think about augmenting someone's intelligence and bringing them up and inspiring them to a different level. So what AI can do, what machine learning can do, is it can look at trends, it can look at patterns, it can look at what's been successful before. It can understand what the emotional state of sort of society is through what's being talked about online.
Advertising has always been about sending the right message at the right time, at the right place. So now with even more personal data that is enabled through devices or the first generation of the robot or Ollie, that will really enhance the brand experience.
I think the opportunity for media and marketing is we only really have 20% of the world's data available to us, which gives us insight on human beings. And we've come a long way in the last 5 years about using data and getting much more personalized so that I have a better value exchange between you and a brand than ever before. But the reality is we can't get at 80% of the world's data. And 80% of the world's data is mostly dark data, meaning imagery, videos, insights, personality. And what Watson can do is Watson can analyze that dark data and give brands more insight into a consumer so that value exchange can be much more higher value than ever. And I think we're just at the beginning of that journey about how marketing is going to start using artificial intelligence in their creative process and targeting process.
So is technology going to take over when it comes to creativity and marketing, or is there still room for us humans?
It's down to the people making decisions around advertising. The systems just help. They don't do it for you. So you'll hear a lot about AI, which is an overused term. Machine learning, maybe. AI, much further into the future. But it won't do it on its own. And you can't play with consumers in the same way that you can play with commodities. So yeah, people will always be in the mix.
I think what we have the opportunity to do now is to put much more science at the front end of the creative process. So we're getting, rather than instinctive, we're getting empirical signals into the creative process. Still, I think the human angle is essential. Certainly at this stage, maybe one day it'll become less so, but I still think at this stage it's really, really essential. And I think the real opportunity is the combination of computers and humans.
I don't know whether it's taking over too much. I wonder whether it's taking too great a share of our mind space, if you see what I mean. I mean, there's no point pretending it's not happening, But I mean, as somebody who's spent his whole career in creative agencies and is, I suppose, relatively new to the media side of the business, I think that there's a ton of stuff that computers and machines and AI are never going to be able to do.
When we're dealing with technology, I always look at it as, first and foremost, is it gonna get me excited? Am I gonna want to jump out of bed? Am I gonna interact with this? Am I gonna want to take this further? And even better, am I gonna want to talk to my friends about it and get them involved? Then you've got invested people advertising your product. And I think you creators have to be that stringent, have to be that hard on themselves, because it's very easy to sell to a client a concept and go, it's new and it's fantastic, because everybody loves the new and everybody loves boasting about it. But if it's not impactful and if it's not doing ads, it's no good.
We can market to people we know, market to real people rather than audiences or proxies. So if you actually understand the people you're marketing to, their hopes, aspirations, motivations, and you have the computer-led ability to tailor the right message to the right people, you can get significant business uplift and outcome.
Well, I think we have to kind of be very cognizant of the technology. But if you look at how many decisions does the average consumer make a day? Probably 2,000, we think, which is more than one a minute. And under those circumstances, you make your decisions fundamentally with your emotions, because it's the only way you can act fast enough. So I think what we're still really about is creating emotional connections between brands and consumers, and that requires as much EQ as IQ and as much kind of sensitivity as data. So we'll use data as a tool, but we'll never, I think, lose sight of the fact that ultimately we're about creating links between humans and brands.
Still watching? Perfect. Click here to watch another great video from CNBC International. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.